But I also saw a pretty crazy story about magic, like these mystery weapons that are making Venezuelan soldiers bleed through their nose and ears and vomiting blood, which is pretty messed up. So we're gonna look into that and see supersonic weapon. I don't really know much about this yet. I didn't look into it, but I started seeing articles in a couple of different mainstream places about it. So we will check it out. Yeah, today. Let's see. This is a take on it. Trying to find a decent article. Like there's this one clip from the Daily Mail that at least gives a headline. I could research that, but Daily Mail is not not a preferred source. Let me check.
Was a powerful mystery weapon during the raid to capture Nicolás Maduro. American forces wiped out hundreds of fighters without losing a single soldier. Now, a new report may shed some light on the methods used by them. According to the report, the U.S. used a powerful mystery weapon that rendered Venezuelan soldiers ineffective during the raid. The report is based on an alleged account of the night's event by a Venezuelan guard.
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe everything I read either. And in regards to this, because of the fact that the White House boosted it, there's always a chance that they're trying to play up what they're capable of. I'm interested to just see what the reports are, and because I always love looking into weird stuff like this and trying to figure it out.
Now, the account claims that the weapon brought Venezuelan soldiers to their knees. They were bleeding through the nose and vomiting blood. The alleged witness account was also shared on social media by the White House press secretary. In the interview, the guard allegedly described how U.S. forces use technology unlike anything he has ever seen. He said that all their radar systems shut down without any explanation. It was followed by a lot of drones flying over their positions. He claimed that 8 helicopters arrived moments later, deploying what he estimated were just 20 U.S. troops into the area. But he said that these few men came armed with something far more powerful than guns. The guard claims that the U.S. troops shot with precision and speed. He said, and I'm quoting, "It felt like each soldier was firing 300 rounds per minute." At one point, U.S. troops launched another weapon, according to the guard's account. It was like a very intense sound wave, and he felt like his head was exploding from the inside. He claimed that the Venezuelan side started bleeding from the nose, while some were vomiting blood. They were unable to move. An estimated 100 Venezuelan security forces were killed in the January 3 attack. The White House press secretary, Caroline Levitt, has shared the account on social media. However, the White House has not confirmed whether administration was verifying the veracity of the eyewitness.
So check this out. This is Defense News. I'm not sure. I think this just seems to be like some military blog. So I'm not sure how reputable this is. They're saying this is U.S. directed energy or sonic weapon during a covert special raid operation. Let's see. What I want to do is I want to track down and see if they are currently researching. We already listened to the news report when they talked about the symptoms here, so I won't go over that. Weapons specialists examining the accounts say that the symptoms align closely with exposure to high-powered infrasonic or shockwave-based energy system. Infrasounds consist of low-frequency sound waves below 20 hertz, far beneath the range of human hearing. Unlike conventional sound, infrasound does not primarily affect the eardrum. Instead, it vibrates the gases and liquids inside the human body, passing through walls, armor, and tissue with minimal energy loss. That sounds crazy. Medical research show that every human organ has a natural resonant frequency. The human skull and brain resonate at 70 to 80 hertz, while the eyes resonate around 18 hertz. Lower frequencies in the 4 to 8 hertz range can align with the resonant frequencies of lungs and stomach. If a weapon projects extremely high decibel waves, estimated at 170 decibels or higher, or at near these frequencies, organs can be forced into violent oscillation. This resonance can produce the sensation of internal pressure or expansion, explaining the soldier's description of their heads exploding from the inside. Why soldiers were why soldiers had those symptoms. The reported nosebleeds, known medically as expertaxis, indicate barotrauma, injury caused by sudden pressure changes, high intensity acoustic waves, high intensity acoustic waves generate rapid pressure fluctuations similar to a wave, rupturing delicate capillaries in the nasal cavity and sinuses almost instantly. More alarming are reports of vomiting blood, which suggest internal hemorrhaging. Low frequency acoustic energy can cause lung tissue to slam repeatedly against the rib cage. This is insane. And this is stuff that they actually got. And similar forces acting on the stomach lining can result in gastrointestinal bleeding. I don't think it could be the LRAD. Let me look more here. Let's see if I could find something a little bit better than the defense news. Here's something from a science website. This talks about, yeah, I could link the URLs for sure. Yeah. Let's see. I think I could share this in here now too, the two that I'm posting. And this one I think will describe like the actual science behind how this stuff apparently works. So this is a thunder generator that produces shock waves that result in a loud sonic boom and extreme air pressure. Okay, let's see. Police and military forces around the world may soon have a new non lethal weapon in their hands. Called the Thunder Generator, the device is a cannon that fires shock waves that pass through people and objects. Although the shock waves are harmless, they give people the impression of standing in front of a firing squad, according to the cannon's developers. So, what, standing in front of a firing squad, like while the bullets are being fired? Is that what they're saying? This was in 2010 that this science article was published. So you know that they got this by now. Originally, the thunder generator was used by farmers in Israel to scare away birds that might eat their crops, probably used for other things. Recently, Israel's Ministry of Defense has approved a license for the Israeli technology company Army Tech to market military and paramilitary versions of the thunder generator. The company hopes that the cannon, which was originally developed by Israeli company PDT Agro, could have applications in crowd control and border security. Anyone within 30 to 50 meters of the cannon will feel like he's standing in front of a firing squad. He'll feel and hear the blast, but he won't be hurled to the ground. He'll be able to run away unharmed, except you're like blood coming out of you. Maintaining a safe firing distance is important, though, since if a person is standing within 10 meters of the cannon, the shot could inflict permanent damage or even kill them. Rather, the device is intended for longer distances. Friedman estimates that by increasing the current 5-inch diameter of the barrel, the cannon could have a range of up to 100 meters. So I would imagine that you could do this from far away, and the closer that you get, the greater of effect it has. So it has some kind of threshold where it passes between just creating this illusion to actually being harmful. And then as it gets closer, it gets even more harmful. To generate shock waves, the cannon uses a mixture of liquefied petroleum, cooking gas, and air. Okay, so this breaks down the science and says how it all works. In agriculture, the shockwaves have provided a cleaner alternative to hazardous chemicals. Over the past 2 years, about a dozen systems have been operating. Let's see. But yeah, I'm sure that this has progressed greatly, but what I'm curious about is if we've had it for this long, why is it just being used now? The interesting thing about this is that it has created apparently these stories have sparked a lot of fear across Latin America because this can apparently get around a lot of the air defenses that they have. And apparently, many of these countries have really heavily fortified their air defenses because of the US military. And now this throws off that calculation. So I did have a video also of this one thing that I'm not sure if it's the same thing, but it seemed like it might be. So I want to take a look. And this is so it says that the US Navy used something called sonic shields. I'm not actually really sure what this is, but this video might explain it. I would imagine that this video does the explaining in a very propagandized way because it's from Navy Decode It and stuff. And I would imagine it's very like, rah, look at our amazing technology that we're colonizing the world with and all this stuff.
January 3rd, Caracas, Venezuela.
Let's see.
11:47 p.m. 200 miles offshore, the USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group is executing the century's most spectacular deception. The media will call this a raid. They are wrong. They aren't staging an attack. They aren't rehearsing deterrence. They are engineering a state of reality. To insert a Delta Force team into a hostile capital without detection, stealth isn't always the answer. Silence isn't either. Sometimes the optimal solution isn't to disappear. It is to flood the battle space with certainty. Too much signal, too much activity, until nothing beneath it is considered abnormal. This is a paradox. You don't need silence, you need noise. Remember Panama in 1989? The US used rock music to psychologically terrorize the enemy. That was crude harassment. But 2026 is different. This is the evolution from psychological.
That Panama operation that they're talking about is the operation to get Manuel Noriega, which was a very similar operation to this one.
Warfare to a technical sonic shield. We are weaponizing tempo, geometry, and human perception. Think about it. Every radar in Venezuela was scanning the sky. Every intelligence officer was filtering audio frequencies. They heard everything. And that was the fatal flaw. When the USS Ford pushes its systems to surge tempo, creating a ceaseless jet engine roar over the Caribbean, the sensors get overloaded. Not by malfunction, but by excess information. They don't see an invasion. They see normal dominance. They see.
The way that this is describing it is that this is a defensive kind of device that gives the aircraft cover. Now, what I'm wondering is maybe both things are true. Maybe they are using some kind of sonic device to give these airplanes cover, and there is some side effect of it that causes these symptoms in people. I think that seems likely, but I'm interested to see what happens or what they have to say here.
Standard procedure. And beneath that perfect cover of familiarity, 4 Chinook helicopters are skimming the water, their rotor noise swallowed whole by the calculated chaos above. The Delta Force team isn't sneaking in through the window. They are walking through the front door while the doorman is covering his ears. If you feel proud of American engineering, the kind that turns physics into the ultimate weapon, type proud in the comments.
Oh my God.
Today, we decode the mathematics that turned the Caribbean into an acoustic prison. Let's start with the machine that made it possible. To maintain over 100 aircraft, airborne across the strike group, the USS Ford needs to launch and recover jets at industrial pace. Every 2 minutes, a jet catapults off the deck.
Let's see.
The USS Gerald R. Ford. Midnight in Caracas. The Delta Force team moves through streets lit only by flickering street lamps. Visibility should be 0. But the operators see everything. We don't use floodlights, we use electrons. Every F-35 in that sonic shield is scanning. The AN/APG-81 radar paints a 3-dimensional picture of the city below. Not visible light, radar energy. But the Caribbean is a radar nightmare. Here is the atmospheric physics problem that usually blinds navies in this region. It's called evaporation ducting. In the hot, humid Caribbean, water evaporates rapidly from the ocean's surface, creating a layer of dense, moist air right above the waves. When standard radar waves hit this layer, they get trapped. They bend downward. They bounce unpredictably. It creates a ghost image. A radar operator might see a ship that isn't there, or miss a low-flying missile entirely because the radar beam was refracted into the water. This is why the USS Ford has unicorn status. It's the only ship in the fleet equipped with dual-band radar, combining SPY-3 X-band and SPY-4 S-band frequencies. This system was designed specifically to pierce the clutter of the Caribbean archipelago. While single-band radars get confused by the evaporation ducts and islands, the Ford's dual frequencies filter out the geography. The S-band, volume search, scans the upper atmosphere, ignoring the surface clutter. The X-band, horizon search, uses a narrower, higher frequency beam that is less susceptible to moisture refraction. It cuts through the humidity like a laser through fog. The enemy thinks they can hide behind the islands or the humidity. The Ford sees right through them.
Yeah, it's weird because it seems like this is very much a part of their strategy, and what has been described as it is technically a weapon, but in some of the articles that came out today, it seemed like an energy ray or something like that, that it was being described. It could be something like that. That was a couple of the possibilities that were even described on like science articles. But this has been talked about explicitly. Like they have admitted that this sonic shield thing was a part of their strategy. I just don't know. I'll look up while I'm playing the rest of this, the next 3 or 4 minutes of this. I'll look up if there is any known side effects to the sonic shield
But there's a
technology.
problem with the F-35C. It can reach Caracas in 28 minutes from the Ford's position. 28 minutes is an eternity when your team is compromised. 80 miles closer to the Venezuelan coast, the USS Baton, a Wasp-class amphibious assault ship, has been maintaining radio silence. On her deck sit 18 F-35B Lightning IIs. Now let's talk about the engineering miracle of the F-35B. The F-35C on the Ford launches with a catapult. The F-35B doesn't need one. It creates its own lift. Behind the cockpit sits a massive lift fan. It's not powered by a separate engine. It's powered by the main jet engine through a carbon fiber drive shaft. This is the most stressed mechanical component in aviation history. When the pilot hits the hover button, a clutch engages. This clutch has to transfer 29,000 horsepower from the jet turbine to the lift fan in a split second.
All right, I think this is just some more like tech porn bullshit. I found this when I looked for sonic shield side effects. It looks like there isn't much actual research on this specific sonic shield device or technology, but sonic weapons in general. We have a study here from what year is this? Because the last one we looked at was 2010 when they were developing that thing, when they were developing that device. Wonder when this is. But this describes very similar symptoms that were summarized in the other article. The influence on infrasound on the central nervous system and neuropsychological effects, military applications of infrasound. There are relatively few literature reports on ultrasonic weapons, with only sporadic reports on the physical characteristics of ultrasound and the basic principles of ultrasonic weapons. These are definitely real. They use LRADs at protests, but that's like I think that this is a much more advanced version of that. This is like an industrial scale, this sonic shield thing. And I think that this is the first time it's being talked about to the public like this. Oh, wow. It's being reported that ICE agents are denying medical care to children and feeding them moldy food. That doesn't surprise me. Male ICE. Yeah, I covered that story on the stream about what that ICE agent did. Just you could catch it if you rewind back from the beginning after the stream's over. Is messed up, the things that are happening out there. And I'm sure they were doing that stuff before they had immunity, but the fact that they have immunity now is making them very bold and crazy. It's scary times. So I'm just scrolling through here to see if I can find the military applications. Let's see. The acoustic wave dispenser installed on armored vehicles by the US military can reach up in SBL to 145 decibels. So that's the LRAD, I think, or the LRAD is the most famous intense sound weapon, which can be the LRAD emits a high frequency of 1 kilohertz, 2.5 kilohertz. Those things are, yeah, I've heard them before. They're not good. They were used in Occupy Wall Street things, from what I remember. It's saying used LRAD in the wars, Afghanistan and Iraq. They were definitely used during Occupy Wall Street. Injury diagnosis. Diagnosis methods at T include pure tone audiometry, audio provoke potentials. Some of these studies are like hearing loss. Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to look for some more stories on that as it comes out. Check Twitter real quick for anything of the Sonic Shield. Let's see. See if there's anything. Just Sonic. Look, it's actually just Sonic the Hedgehog stuff. Okay. They've really got it on lock. I mean, that military nerd video really did seem to know what was talking about it. Huh. Yeah, that's all I got there then for tonight. I'll definitely be back tomorrow. Please send me stories. I have my socials listed on the YouTube channel. I have a new video coming out soon. The Cold War, it was World War III. I have it finished. I just need to figure out the thumbnail situation since it's my first full length video. I actually want to make sure it's a good one. And then I have a couple ideas for more that I'm going to do that are like more planned. But yeah, I think that's it. If you're interested in any of my books, you could look them up. The most recent is Paper Squares and Purple Stars: My Life as a Rave Outlaw. It is a memoir about my time in the music industry when I was throwing raves between 2008 and 2012. As before I started writing, essentially, and before I got into activism. And then there's a sequel coming to that about my years in activism and the early blogging days and all the shit that went down there. Some of it I covered in my videos, but yeah, thanks for coming aboard and thanks for sticking with me through some traumatizing material today. But it's important. I wanted to make sure that I covered it all in a chunk so I could cut it out and get it out there as something that could stand alone and people can see like how serious things getting. Yeah, I think it my username should just be John Vibes or John G Vibes on Discord. Same with Telegram too. Let's see. Hold on a minute. I'll sign on and see. Yeah, it's just John Vibes and Telegram is John G Vibes. There's no space in between John and Vibes on Discord. But yeah. So, I'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks again. I appreciate y'all joining me. Peace.